My countrymen, once again, this is Eli Verislao Pamatong, President of the Republic of the Philippines. And once again, I have come to share with you important developments around the Philippines and to a certain extent, a part of the world like the United States and China. Tonight, I'm going to cover several topics like coronavirus, the updates on coronavirus, dismemberment of the Philippines, which we have been taking for granted, the possible Philippine-China war, which I have been advocating to save the Philippines from being devoured by China, and what to do in case of war or before the war with China, and some historical facts that can guide us to victory if we pay attention to the past. It has been said that to be able to understand the past, you must look back. And by looking back, you understand the present. And by understanding the present, you'll be able to see the future. Let us talk about coronavirus. We have not been updated by our government about coronavirus, unfortunately. They seem to be ignoring what's going on. This kind of pandemic which can destroy the whole of mankind. Many times more than the Black Death during the Middle Ages and the smallpox pandemic in America, which claimed the lives of about 60 million people. Now, let's talk about, again, go deeper into what's happening about coronavirus. In the Philippines, we don't seem to be doing anything to stop coronavirus. And the report from the Philippine government is not kind of clear. I've been trying to check the developments through the information highways, and I could not see any step by the government, any clear, I would say, approach by the government. I don't even know how much the Philippines under Duterte has bought from other countries. How many Filipinos have been injected with the COVID vaccine? How much came from China? How much were donated? How much were actually paid? We don't know. We are in the dark. This government is as dark as the skin of Duterte. We don't know what's going on. But anyway, let me share with you what I can possibly share with you based on what I know. You know, information in the Philippines has been restricted very much by the governing de facto authority. In the United States, let's start with the United States. 31,499,322 cases have been reported. 31,499,332 and 332 cases have been reported of coronavirus, and 569,328 died. About more than 500,000 died, and only about 24 million have recovered out of the 31 million that have been afflicted. About 24 million recovered. In China, which is the source of COVID or coronavirus, you will be surprised to know that only 90,217 cases have been reported. 90,217 cases have been reported compared to 31,499,322 in America. 31 million vis-a-vis 90,000 in China. So there's a lot of difference, wide disparity of people afflicted with COVID in America and in China. And in the Philippines, we have even more cases in the Philippines. than China because we have 803,000. 803,000. Eh, malapit na mag 1 million. 803,000 compared to 90,000 in China. 803,000 in the Philippines. China, 90,000. The very source of COVID. Now, you'll be surprised why this is going on. I'm surprised myself, but my capacity to obtain information is really very limited. Especially since COVID was imposed more than 1 year ago. I've been locked down. I'm under house arrest. All of us in the Philippines are virtually under house arrest. We cannot move around. And this is, of course, like I said before, a form of social control. To make sure that nobody will be protesting against Duterte, then we are locked down in the guise of ECQ, Enhanced Community Quarantine. Maraming pangalan, mga EQ, para lang hindi makarally yung matao against Duterte. So, to repeat, we don't know how many vaccines have been donated, how many have been bought by the Philippines, and why. It has not been explained why, instead of using doctors and nurses to be at the front line against COVID in the Philippines, we are using the military people. Bringing that tanks around. Anong gawin nila? Babarilin ba yung mga COVID? But yung mga doctors hindi ginagamit, hindi yung mga nurses hindi. May mga frontliner na hindi masyadong, hindi mo makita na palagay ko may alam sa field of medicine. Para mga volunteers yan, nandiyan sa frontline. And they are hardly even vaccinated, the one at the frontline. Very few, if ever, ang nabigyan ng COVID vaccine yung mga frontliners natin. Yun ang masamang nangyari sa Pilipinas. Our government does not seem to care what's going on. I am under the impression that this is, in fact, China's biological warfare against the Filipinos because they really want to hold on to the Philippines and own the Philippines completely because the Philippines is very close to China and without the Philippines, China will have no bright future. And the Filipinos, of all people in the world, are the easiest to conquer, to exploit, to enslave because we have been used to slavery for about more than 500 years. 333 years under Spain. Matagal na yan. Alipin tayo. 48 years under America. 4 years under Japan. And 70 years and counting under China. So we have been used to this life of slavery. We have been born in captivity. I was born in captivity. Born in captivity means you are born under foreign control and you are growing up under foreign control. Up to now, we are living in captivity. We were born, we have been born in captivity, and we are living in captivity. Tulad na yung Australian parrot ko, that white parrot, kakatu, however you pronounce that. Eh, that kakatu, I released him. I wanted to give him freedom. But he came back. He's so used to life in captivity. There at his cage. He has everything. Water, food, everything. He's secure. Now, in the Philippines, we don't worry too much. Because even if the Chinese are enslaving us, well, we are given salary anyway, no matter how small. We can eat 3 times a day. So we are used to slavery. Well, we are not protesting. This COVID, I think, will finish all of us. It will finish all of us if we are not careful. And don't tell me, Elibelis Pamatong did not warn you. I did warn you. I'm still warning you. And I will continue to warn you. I cannot live with my conscience if I don't keep talking to you because I know, manhid na kayo. Wala na. Sa inyo yung, ewan ko anong gawin ko para maintindihan nyo na kailangan lumaban kayo. Kailangan magising na kayo. So, having talked about coronavirus na wala tayong kasiguruhan sa Pilipinas, eh, paano tayo makasiguro? Yung presidente natin, bakla daw. Hindi lang pangit, bakla. O, not competent. Wala talagang ginawa. Failure from the start up to now, failure. Ang napaligiran ng mga bakla at puta. Ayun si Rocky, bakla. Yung classmate kong si Panilo, ewan ko mukhang bakla rin yan. Okay, pangit si Panilo wala na akong magawa dyan. But sana naman mabawi-bawi niya yung pagkapangit niya. Pero kung sinasabi niya, it's all right for the West Philippine Sea to be used as a collateral for loans. That's the most stupid thing you can do, Panilo. My God, I'm ashamed of you. Masabi mo yan dahil pinakain ka ng maraming pera ni Digo? Ganon ba? Ganon ka mura yung kaluluwa mo? Hindi ka mahiya? Taga-UP ka? So anyway, I have talked about coronavirus in the Philippines. It can kill all Filipinos if we are not careful. And that is for the good of China. China is overpopulated. And the Philippines is just adjacent to China, very close. And this will be a province of China someday. That is what Duterte wants. Now, let me jump to another topic. Let me talk about 3 major areas in the Philippines, which, if not protected or if not recovered, would mean the loss of the entire Philippines. The loss of the entire Philippines. Now, let me talk to you about, first, Benham Rise. Now, Benham Rise is a Filipino area. It's little bit underwater, but it will eventually rise above water, and even now we can use it. It's 13 million hectares, bigger than Luzon. It was discovered by Admiral Benham. I think he was a surveyor and marine surveyor, whatever. And I think Benham Rise was named after Admiral Benham. And that is to the north, to the east of the Philippines, very far from China. What China says belongs to China. If we lose Benham Rise, 13 million hectares, we will eventually lose everything. If we cannot defend 13 million hectares, do you think in the next 3.5 or 4 billion years, God will create another 4 billion hectares of land for the Filipinos or for the whole world? God has stopped creating islands. God has stopped creating, making the Philippines. It was finished in 7 days. It cannot be increased anymore. The size is the same. 7 days after God made it, that's it. And there will be no more Benham Rise. Aside from the Benham Rise that we have now, there will be no more Benham Rise. 13 million hectares, bigger than Luzon. If you cannot protect that, what right do you have to own the Philippines anyway if you cannot protect a very big part of the Philippines? And now, this is for your information. I think you are not really researching anyway, so let me help you. This is Benham Rise. You see that? Benham Rise. It's bigger than Luzon. It belongs to you. Every inch of this belongs to you. Every inch of this is a gift from Bathala to you. Now, are you protecting Benham Rise? Are you? What are you doing to protect Benham Rise? That is how big Benham Rise is. And inside the Benham Rise, there is what we call the biggest caldera in the world. You know what caldera is? Hindi mo yung caldero, calderita, calderon, no. Caldera is a depressed area in the sea caused by volcanic eruption, caldera. And that's the biggest caldera in the whole world, inside the 13 million Benham Rise. We can pride of having the biggest caldera in the world. Like I said, it's caldera, it's like a caldero, it's like a calderon. Alam mo, in Spanish, we have calderita, caldero, calderon, right? Depending on the size. If it's small, it's calderita. If it's a normal size, like caldero. If it's big, calderon. Na ito talagang malaki, caldera na ito. Meron yung caldera sa Benham Rise. This is the Benham. This is your Benham Rise. I give this to you. Bathala, give this to you. But what the hell are you doing with this Benham Rise. Anong ginawa nyo? Ha? Gawa na lang kayong gawa ng bata. Wala naman kayong edukasyon. Hindi naman yung pinagtiktahan yung binigay nyo sa kanyo. Yan ang Benham Rise. And then, mawala yan. Palagay ko, mawala rin yung iba. Ang nawala nating nawala na, pero pwedeng bawiin natin. During my term as the jury president of the Philippines, my dream is to recover Sabah for you and future generations. Para nimo, doy, o para sa mga bata nga gipanamkon pa lamang sa sabakan sa panahon. I want to recover this, Sabah. Now, this is 3.9 million. 3.9 million hectares. Laki. Do you think God will make another 3.9 million for the Filipinos? Kasi mahal na mahal yung Filipinos. Binigyan na kayo nito. What are you doing with this? Hindi nyo pinaglaban, pinabayaan lang, kukunan sa Malaysia. Pero sa atin ito, we acquired Sabah ahead of Malaysia. We acquired Sabah in 1962. Malaysia annexed Sabah 1963. So we acquired this 1 year ahead of Malaysia. Now before that, it belongs to the Sultan of Brunei. It was given to him as a gift from the Sultan of Brunei. It was given as a gift to the Sultan of Sulu, the Sultan, what can I call that Sultan, na kaibigan ko. Binigay sa Sultan ng Sulu, Kiram, Jamalul Alam Kiran. Yeah, nakita ko na. Binigay. And rented by the North Borneo Company. Silang Baron de Overbeck and his companion rented. And then after a while, Kiram canceled the loan, canceled the lease, pajak, and it returned, of course, legally to the Sultan of Sulu. But then, in 1963, when Britain declared or granted independence to the Federation of Malaysia, Sabah was illegally included in the areas that was to be a part of the Federation of Malaysia. Without decent protest from the Philippines, we were just looking at what's going on. We were dismembered already. 3.9 million hectares were taken away from us. Hindi tayo lumaban, pinabayaan lang natin mawala sa atin. Merong konting medyo pumuporma tayong lumalaban, pero wala talaga. It was not a respectable kind of resistance to defend every inch of the territory that belongs to us. So, mawala na natin Benham Rise. Hindi pa nawala, pero mawala na yan. Kinuha na ng China. Mawala natin yung Sabah, 3.9 million. Yung Benham Rise, 13 million hectares. 4 million hectares yung Sabah. And dagdagan pa natin. Ano idagdag natin? West Philippine Sea. 40,000 square miles. Sa atin yan. 40,000 square miles. 3.9 million Sabah, 13 million hectares Benham Rise, 40,000 square miles of land and sea. Kinuha na ng China, binigay ni Digong. Ito yan, kita nyo yan. Yan, sa atin yan. Every inch of that. And I don't think God will make other would say West Philippine Sea for us. Binigay na eh. Pagkatapos, hindi natin pinaglaban yung West Philippine Sea. Mawala natin yan. So, ulitin ko. 3.9 million hectares of land in Sabah. Kinuha. Hindi tayo lumaban. Nagsunog ng flag, siguro 1,000 flags. Pinabayaan lang niyo ako. And Malaysia officially protested against me with the Department of Foreign Affairs. Pinabayaan lang niyo ako. Salamat na hindi niyo ako pinigilan. 3.9 million hectares of land sa Sabah. 13 million ha? hectares of land sa Benham Rise. Marami na yan. Dagdagan natin 40,000 square miles doon sa West Philippine Sea. Yan, tingnan mo yan. West Philippine Sea. Ito mga islands. About 1,200 islands, pero yung mga malaki-laki dyan na importante talaga, mga 800 major shores at sandbars na kinuha ng China. Pero that's within the exclusive maritime zone na binigay sa atin ng Permanent Court of Arbitration. I think on July 12, 1916, binigay sa atin yan. Panalo tayo. Yun ang nangyari. So, 3 nawala. 3 hindi mo pinaglaban. Eh kung hindi mo pinaglaban yung 3 napakalaki, 48,000 square miles, about 4 million hectares of Sabah, 13 million of Benham Rise, ano pang ma-expect mo sa mga Pilipino? Pabayaan na lang itong mga Pilipinas. As a matter of fact, we're not in control of the Philippines. Right now, maraming exploration doon sa West Philippines yan, mga red areas yan. Karamihan sa exploration dyan, mga inchik. Wala tayo mga Pilipino. Kung mayroon man tayo, kunti-kunti lang. Yun ang nangyayari dyan. So, my friends, ulitin ko. Doon sa coronavirus na nangyari, wala tayong ginagawa. Tayong mga citizens, dapat magprotesta tayo kasi walang ginawa yung gobyerno. Hindi rin tayo nagprotesta. Pinabayaan na lang natin. Ikulong tayo sa bahay natin dahil sa nag-quarantine daw. Pumayag tayo. Hindi quarantine yan. Lockdown yan. Yung parang ginawa tayong internment camp yung buong Pilipinas, parang concentration camp yung Pilipinas para hindi na tayo makaprotesta against Tigong. Hindi tayo lumaban. Tinanggalan tayong 3 island, triad, big areas given to God to you, by God to you, by Bathala to you. You are not protecting. Nagtingin ka lang yan, nagkatanga lang kayo. Eh kung sabihin ko kayong tanga kayo, maputang ina ninyo, magalit kayo sa akin. Kaya sabihin nyo si Pamatong mayabang. Pero dapat tawagin kayo ng ganun para baka magalit kayo at saka makilala nyo sarili nyo na talagang hindi pa malaman ninyong hindi dapat magtahimik lang kayo. May problema yung coach ko. Sana hindi COVID ito. So yan. To repeat, I talk about coronavirus already. I talk about 3 major areas in the Philippines taken by different countries, by Malaysia, Sabah, 3.9 million. West Philippine Sea, 40,000 square miles, taken by China. Benham Rise, taken by China, 13 million hectares. What more do you want, Mr. China? You want the entire Philippines. Para kinakayan yung arm natin, the whole body, kukunin nila hanggang wala ng Pilipinas. I mentioned before in my previous recording, about 9 countries have been lost to memory, lost to history, because the people in that area never fought, never defended what belongs to them, what God granted them. Hindi pinaglaban yung binigay sa Diyos sa kanila. Yun ang mangyari sa inyo. Yun rin mangyari sa akin. Unfortunately, Pilipino ako. Sana matangos-tangos yung ilong ko tulad ni Victor Wood, puta ako, babalik ako sa Amerika. Pero mga Filipino, discriminated rin doon eh. Hindi naman masyado. Pwede rin hahabla ka kung ma-discriminated ka. Now, how do we solve this China intrusions into Philippine affairs? Kinuha yung West Philippine Sea, kinukuha yung Benham Rise. Ano ang paraan? We have to protect ourselves. Kasi kung hindi natin protektahan sarili natin, mauubos yung mga property natin, right? We have to train ourselves like the Spartans who fought Xerxes in the Battle of Thermopylae. Ilan mong kalaban ni Xerxes? Iwan ko, hindi ko na maalala, pero napakalaki yung kalaban, about 700,000. Ang sundalo ni King Leonidas, about 300. Kasama yung mga alay niyang hindi pa siya doon train, 7,000. against about 700,000 in defense of Sparta. At least wipe out yung 300 fighters of Leonidas at the Battle of Thermopylae, pero na-save yung Greece. The Greek city-states were saved. They were given a chance to prepare for a second attack by King Xerxes I of Persia. Yun. Panalo tayo kung gagayain natin yung nangyari sa Battle of Thermopylae. And then, I want to remind you that Israel was surrounded by about 51 million Arabs. 51 million Arabs. Kalaban 2.5 million Israelis. In the 1967-60 war, in one day, the 51 million Arabs representing Syria, Jordan, and Egypt wiped out by the Israeli army. In the name of their God, lumaban sila, kunti lang sila, pero panalo sila against overwhelming odds that turned the tide of history in the Middle East. Humbled yung mga mayabang na mga mayamang Muslim countries. Gayahin natin yan. Panalo rin tayo. Yung 6th War of 1967 sa Israel. In fact, one day lang yun. Sa first day, sa June 5, labanan doon sa Middle East, wala na, bumagsak na yung napakalaking army ng Jordan, Syria at Egypt. Bagsak. Yung 5 remaining days, mga mapping operations na lang yun. So, hindi sa size yan. Andyan sa pagmahal sa bansa mo. Pagmahal sa bansa mo yun ang determining factor dyan, yung pagmamahal sa bansa mo. Now, anong gawin ko as commander of the Armed Forces of the Philippines? Halimbawa, the Armed Forces of the Philippines, the Philippine National Police, plus the USAFE will fight all the way under my leadership. Ang gawin ko, first, I will destroy all facilities at the West Philippine Sea. Gigibayin ko yung lahat, susunugin ko yung lahat. I-intern ko lahat yung mga 4 to 5 million Chinese here in the Philippines. I-intern ko yan. Yun ang pang-bargain ko. Hindi yung mga, pati yung citizen, kasama yan sa internment. Pero we will not go against them, citizen na yan. Yung hindi citizen, pang-bargain natin yan. Pag namatay ng Pilipino, doon sa West Philippines, kasi kukunin ko yan, gigibayin ko lahat yung may structures nila doon. Papatay rin tayo ng isang insect. Para patas. Palagay ko, with that strategy, hindi makagalaw ang China. Kasi for every Filipino that dies at the West Philippine Sea, papatay akong isang insect na hindi man citizen. For every boat or warplane kong na tamaan ng China, I will kill 1,000 Chinese nationals here. With that approach, I don't think China can move. Mahihiya na rin siya, matakot yan. Kung determinado tayo. We'll seize all assets of China in the Philippines kung meron. And I will raise 80 million combatants. 80 million combatants. Ang army sa China yun, 1 million lang eh. 80 million. I will declare 110 million Filipinos warriors against China. Warriors for God. Yun ang gawin ko. I will declare 110 million Filipinos warriors for God. Warriors against China. Defenders of the Filipino people. 80 million combatants. The entire Philippines will be declared a military republic. 110 million soldiers, but I will raise about 80 million active combat-ready warriors against China. Yung mga kaibigan ko, hindi masabing matatalo tayo basta-basta ng China kung united tayo. Please, believe me, we can win this war against China. Not because uh, magaling tayo lumaban? No. Because we are right. Because we are defending the Philippines, our motherland. Kaya nga yung mga friends doon sa Vietnam in the Battle of Dien Bien Phu in 1951, bagsak ang 87,000 troops sa France. 87,000 battalions, 80 battalions, 87 battalions, bagsak doon sa France. Why? Because the Vietnamese people are defending their homeland. The Vietnamese people are defending their God, their religion, the future of their children. The soil in Vietnam was sacred to them, and they did not want the French people to rule over them forever. So after 34 years of fighting, sometime in 1951, the Empire of France was crushed, humbled, routed in the heartland of Vietnam. That is what we are going to do in the Philippines. We'll crush the army of China here in our homeland, here in the Philippines, as we did against the Japanese Imperial Army in the Philippines. We routed 6 to 7 million Japanese Imperial Army in the Philippines with only hardly armed Filipinos, armed with bolos, sanggots, lagaraos, whatever, and old weapons. But in spite of that, because of our love for our homeland, the Philippines, we fought. We fought for the Philippines. For Las Islas Filipinas. Tinatawag Perla del Mar del Oriente. We fought for our country. And we crushed the Imperial Army of Japan. Not America, no, the Filipinos. We fought Japan. And we won. And we fought the Chinese. Again, I repeat, at the Battle of Yultong in Korea, in the Battle of Yuldong in Korea. 40,000 Chinese. 40,000 Chinese. 40,000 Chinese against 900 Filipinos, or 1,000 Filipinos. Routed the Chinese army at the Battle of Yultong. That is in history. You can check the movies on the Battle of Yultong, where the Filipinos proudly waved the flag of freedom and trampled the Chinese army somewhere in the land of Korea. That is how we fought. That is why MacArthur said, I repeat, give me 100 Filipinos and I will conquer the world. And that also prompted General Lawton to say, these Filipinos, they are the bravest men I have ever seen. Giginising ko yung Pilipino na yan sa iyo. Lalaban ka, tulungan mo ako. Huwag mong tulungan yung baliw sa Davao. Hindi yan presidente. Huwag mong tulungan yung mga bakla sa Malacanang Lake Roque. Hindi yan ang mga tunayng officer. Ako ang tunayng presidente nyo. Tulungan nyo ako. Lalaban tayo. Para matalo natin ang China. Para ang Pilipinas manatiling pag-aari ng mga Pilipino. Mga kaibigan ko, huwag niyong kalimutan. We won in most wars, in all wars against Filipinos. We defeated Spain. We defeated Japan. We crushed Spain at the Battle of Mactan. We crushed Japan here on the Philippine soil. We defeated China at the Battle of Yultong. In this war between 110 million Filipinos against the Chinese in the Philippines, we will win that war. I assure you, believe me, trust me. But if you do not follow me, believe me also, you will never have a Philippines to talk about. Farewell to the land of freedom. Farewell to the Philippines. Farewell to Islas Filipinas. I may be your last hope. I may be your last chance to save this country from the doldrums of slavery, from the darkness of oppression, from the mire of persecution and exploitation. So my friends, no matter what, I hope you'll fight. Never give up. Fight, support Eli Venislao Pamatong presidency. And we will not only win, we will prevail with the help of Bathala. I think I have said enough. Thank you and good night.